I had a whole elaborate plan for this video. I was gonna go for a little kayaking trip, which I still brought out. I was gonna do a little fishing, but the weather is changing. It is not summer anymore. So it's raining and the rain is starting to come down a little harder. So instead, we're just gonna pull out the fishing pole for a little bit to show you what we're talking about today, see what happens. But we've got a new camera and this is a cool one. So I think I'm gonna try here, but it is coming down a little harder. I can see fish. See them all over the place. There you go, one just jumped. I don't know if you can see that. Well, that was a bust. Snap my line. I'm not gonna bother redoing it right now. It's not the best fishing. I mean, there are definitely fish, but they're not in the mood for what I'm offering. So instead, let's go ahead, stop this, and talk about this camera. This is the DJI Osmo Action 3, and it's packing a ton of features in a relatively familiar form factor, going back to the basics. Now, this camera isn't really replacing the Action 2. This is a separate type of camera. This is much more similar to the first generation of Action camera. So it's, you know, that typical cube form factor, and it doesn't do anything like snap apart like the Action 2, or doesn't have 360, none of that. This is just a really solid camera that gives you the most up-to-date frame rates, resolutions, and everything in between. But now that my whole morning plan was ruined, let's head back to the studio, and I think we'll head out later. The weather's supposed to clear up a little bit. Let's go talk about this camera. So here we have it. This is the DJI Osmo Action 3, and more particularly, this is the Adventure Combo, and I think this is worth it. The standard version comes in at $329, and for the Adventure Combo, it's $439, so for about $100 more, you get 3 batteries with a charger and a bunch of mounts and a selfie stick. So I think it's worth the investment. But if you take a look at the camera, first glance, this looks like your traditional action camera, and that's exactly what DJI was going for here. This is very much an evolution of the first generation camera. So let's get the new stuff out of the way. What are we looking at with this camera? It can shoot up to 4K 120, has 155 field of view, which is wider, so you get a really wide angle. It also has the new version of Rock Steady and the horizon balance, so it should be more smooth. And if you use that horizon balance, it'll keep the horizon straight no matter what you do, up to a 45-degree angle, which is a nice feature. And where DJI is really promoting is with its cold resistance and its waterproofing. So it can go down to 16 meters with just this camera. You don't need an extra case or anything like that. And it is very cold resistant. More particularly, the battery is cold resistant. So even if you're out skiing, snowboarding, anything like that, the battery should last quite a while. One of my favorite features about this new hardware though is not actually the camera. It's the battery case and charging. So if you get that Adventure Combo, you get 3 batteries, which they already last pretty long, which is nice, but it all sits in this charging case that you can plug in with one cable and charge everything at the same time. And plus there's a battery indicator there so you can see what the state of charge is for each battery. And there's even SD card holders inside of that. So you can just pick up this one thing and you're good to go for at least an entire day of continuous shooting. But now the weather's cleared, let's get back outside and talk a little bit more about this camera. Action cameras these days are a little confusing, I think. The reason to have one for a lot of people probably isn't all that clear. When I'm out here doing things like going on hikes, I typically use my phone as my camera, and it works for the most part. I mean, obviously the quality of phones these days is really good, but there's still something to be said about a dedicated camera, something that you are using for a particular purpose, and I think the Action 3 is one of those devices. I wouldn't use this to film like my family events or anything, that's what the phone is for, but when you really want the camera to do something for you, well, that's where this thing, I think, hits it out of the park. A big reason why I like an action camera like this is because I can do things more hands-free. I can mount it to my chest, I can mount it to my head, I can even put it in my mouth if I need to, and it gives me more options than recording with my phone. Like, I'm not gonna clip my phone to my chest or my head, but I'll easily do that with an action camera, and it's going to give me the results that I'm looking for, especially for when I'm out here. I mean, you can hear, I'm not sure what bugs they are exactly, but it's very loud. I'm out here in nature and I want to capture that, and I don't always have my hands available. Maybe I'm using hiking sticks, maybe I'm getting something out of my backpack, but I could still have the camera rolling while I do that, and that's a real big reason why I still think action cameras have a big place in the market. Now, like I said, this hardware looks very similar to the first generation in a good way. It features all the same things that I think were really good about that camera, mainly the dual screens. So you can see yourself on the front or on the back and control everything from either one, which is nice. Both are a touchscreen. And you also have your QS button on the side if you want to quickly change between different settings like photo and video. But I think the most important and game-changing update for me is on the bottom, and this is with their quick release system. This was first introduced with the Osmo Action 2, but they brought it over here, and I love it. This is a game-changing feature. So now, instead of using the little prongs that you have to screw in all the time, you just get a magnetic quick release system that snaps on, clips in so it is secure, but when you need to take it off, you just unclip it and pull the camera off. Now let's talk about image quality, because that's one of the most important things with an action camera like this. That's, I think, why you choose the kind of hefty, beefy one over some of the other options that you could choose, especially even like the Action 2 from DJI. But I think image quality is the reason to get this for the most people. You want a small camera that's compact, that can fit anywhere, but also gives you that best quality. And I think this delivers on that. For instance, everything that you see where I'm on camera is being shot on the Action 3. And right now I'm following not all of the best practices for action cameras. Mainly it is pretty dark where I am right now, but I still think it looks pretty good. But it has all the features that you would want, especially in video mode. So you can shoot in 4:3 up to 4K, you got your 16:9, and your various different frame rates. And another big deal is that this is going to be getting an update to 10-bit color. So if you're going to be editing your videos, this is going to give you a lot more latitude to change those colors and make it look exactly how you want. Whereas now, it still looks good, but definitely doesn't give you as much flexibility. Now, one thing I'm still debating with a camera like this is whether it's worth getting this or a 360 camera, because the 360 camera is definitely more immersive. You can reposition after the fact. You can show every angle if you want to. And most importantly, you don't get an ugly selfie stick like this. I mean, right now it's nice. You can see my surroundings, you can see me. So it works, but you get this stick in the way, and it's the first thing I notice when I watch a video like this. So 360 camera might be a better option. But there are a few reasons why I am still choosing action cameras and why I haven't taken the full plunge into 360 cameras. I've definitely used them, but they're not my replacement action camera just yet. And it really just has to do with image quality. We're just not there yet with 360 cameras, whereas with something like the Action 3, we get all the resolutions, all the frame rates. It's just much more versatile in my opinion, even though, yes, you have to choose where you're pointing the camera as you record. There's give and takes on both, but since we don't have that image quality quite yet on the 360 cameras, I'm still happy with having a traditional action camera like the Action 3, and I just think it looks better. So that is the DJI Osmo Action 3. And yeah, there's nothing super fancy about it, but it's really for those people that want the best image quality to get the best results out of their tiny camera. Yeah, it doesn't clip apart. Yeah, it doesn't have 360 video, but if you want just a solid, good image quality action camera, well, this is gonna be hard to beat. And I'm glad that DJI isn't forgetting about this segment, because there's a lot more innovation happening than just this kind of camera. But I'm liking it, and I'm glad that DJI made this.